Hi there, Isha here, and welcome back to the Higher Life Academy. I'm so excited to be kicking off 2020 with this first teaching on the topic of perfectionism. Now, perfectionism is a topic that is really close to my heart. It's something that I have wrestled with immensely over the last sort of 20 years of my life, or at least since I've become aware of this very dysfunctional pattern of thinking, a dysfunctional belief pattern called perfectionism, which has really been driving my life. And as I look around and I observe a lot of people in my generation, the Generation X, and the younger people who are following on behind, I can safely say that perfectionism is definitely a dysfunctional belief system that we are being driven by as a collective. So it's not just showing up in me and in my life, or in the people around me, or in the clients that I work with. But if you look out there in the society and see how we operate as a collective, at least in the Western, very developed parts of the world, you can definitely see that perfectionism is a very strong influencer in the way we feel about ourselves, the type of model of success that we've chosen to pursue, and the kind of actions that we take and the kind of rewards we're looking for from those actions. Now, before I kickstart the lesson on perfectionism, I really want to talk about why it's so important to be doing this work at the moment. And I'm making a big assumption here that if you're watching this video, personal transformation, which is the work that we do here at the Higher Life Academy, we look for tools, for teachings, for wise perspectives that we can share with you, that you can take and apply in your life to start creating a daily experience that is really nourishing. You know, it nourishes your soul, it nurtures your creative potential, because that's a big part about being authentically happy, is developing your creative potential. And it really teaches you how to create the right conditions so you can thrive in your life. So I'm so excited to be sharing this particular lesson with you today, because this is one that's really going to make a difference. Now, the personal transformation work that we're doing, it's really important for the greater world. And lots of people think, oh, if I take time out and I spend time, becoming more aware of myself and really developing myself, it's a kind of luxury or self-indulgence. It could be seen to be selfish. And I really want to nail this right now. Every single time that you take time out and focus on your own personal transformation, and you're creating a life that is really a much better life for you to be living in, you're actually transforming our entire world for the better. And that might seem like a big call, that one single person can make such a difference. But you're not one single person. You're an interdependent person. There are so many people that you interact with on a daily basis that are close to your heart, and people that you don't know. But your way of being in the world and how you fulfill your potential has an immediate impact on the people around you. And then they have an impact on the people around them, and so on. So it's kind of a ripple effect. So transforming your life for the better means that you will transform our world for the better. And it's the most powerful and effective way to really make a positive shift. And oh my God, in 2020, don't we need that? I can't tell you how many people, I've heard talking about this really difficult time in history we seem to find ourselves in. Or if you listen to the news, it feels like, the Armageddon is coming. And it's really not true. We're entering into a new phase of humanity, that's for sure. And this phase just asks us to be far more self-aware than we have been in the past. And that is just a beautiful request for the universe to be making from us. And I am so excited. I say that a lot, but I feel really excited and quite optimistic about the time that we're in right now, because I know that the kind of work that I've been doing, and so many people, so many beautiful people that I have done this work with along the way, that it's starting to pay off. And the things that are really a priority in our life are starting to become more visible to the mainstream. Things like having a very healthy soul esteem, things like using your creativity to make, to do something beautiful for the world, and things like building more open, more positive, and more compassionate relationships, that just really make your whole daily life experience so much more enjoyable than the kind of life that we tend to be living right now. And that brings me back to perfectionism. What is perfectionism? Well, at its core, it is a dysfunctional belief system. It's a pattern of thinking And that pattern of thinking drives your behaviors, your actions, your choices. And this thought pattern is based on a core belief that if I do everything right, if I'm perfect, if I keep working on myself, if I keep looking at how to fix what's wrong with me or with other people, I will be safe. I will finally feel some relief. I will feel good about myself. Essentially, it's actually a technique people use to try and raise their self-esteem so that you feel better in the world. And, the perfectionist voice kind of talks to you with things like this. I can feel good about myself when I've achieved something that will allow me to feel good about myself. I can feel good about myself when I'm productive at work or at home. I can give time to really relax and to enjoy just being here in the world after I've worked hard enough to deserve it. It's this kind of very primal energy that we're all sort of being driven by, that once I've achieved success, then I can be validated as a human being. And then, and only then, can I start to breathe and relax and take time out for other things that I truly enjoy, that don't seem to rate as well in terms of giving me value in the world as other things. So for example, I can spend more time with my children just playing, even though it doesn't generate any income, or it doesn't make me look good to the world, or it doesn't satisfy my inner critic who thinks I need to do something more rewarding. I can start to really sit with my kids and play and not feel that this is a less meritable activity than, say, doing something charitable or running a company or working out in the workforce. Now, that's just one example. It's one that's close to mine because that was a struggle for me to really, step back and spend time as a mother and feel good about myself in a society where I'm not paid for that. There's no real recognition, and you don't get a lot of merit. You don't feel like a very successful human being doing that, because how do you prove it? Right? So perfectionism really, really affects the kind of ways we study. Lots of young people look at their university courses and decide which job is going to make me more successful, which job will look good, which job is meritable enough for me to build my whole self-esteem around. And you see that many people at my age, in 45 and over, we've created a whole self-esteem identity around our careers. It's our careers that make us feel valuable in the world. And, to even sort of raise the bar on that, it's the careers that have a positive influence or a positive impact, or the careers that are entrepreneurial, that look impressive to others, that we can build our identity around. Or it's the careers or the actions where I'm very charitable, or I'm a giving person, I'm a good person. You get the idea. We build our self-esteem around the perfectionist identity, which says when I've done enough out in the world and other people validate that what I've done is worthy, then I can feel worthy. And that is a hugely dysfunctional way to be living your life, because honestly, it never ends. Okay, there's never a time where you've improved enough or done enough or got enough validation to satisfy that inner perfectionist who's highly critical, let's face it, who is a real bully in lots of ways and is very driven, never lets you rest. So, we really need to let go of that. And here's why. Perfectionism is probably the source of most mainstream depression, most mainstream exhaustion, burnout, conflicts between loved ones, conflicts in family environments. This idea that we all need to be doing better or we're not doing enough, this low self-esteem dialogue really gets in the way of us being a healthy human being for ourselves and for other people. Another thing that perfectionism creates is a lot of stress in our children. Our children are really starting to inherit the perfectionist mindset, which is where, as parents, we're always looking for ways that we can develop our kids, give them, support them to thrive, accelerate them, looking for ways to improve their experience, which often comes from a place of love. However, there's a kind of underlying belief that they're not good enough as they are, that somehow you're not a good parent if you're not working really hard to make sure that your child is ahead in some sort of way or is prepared for the world as you imagine it. And the perfectionism perfectionist doesn't imagine the world in a really great way. The perfectionist really holds on to this belief that in order to meet the future that's coming, you need to be a pretty high functioning human being. And the problem with that kind of high functioning behavior is it usually needs some kind of release. And here we see the rise of addictions, addictions to alcohol, to drugs, to food, to shopping, to gaming, this kind of crazed behavior that needs to bring balance to this other crazed perfectionist behavior, which is driving us so hard to improve. Now, I'm sure that every single one of you out there can identify this kind of perfectionist behavior in yourself, in the way that you behave, in your workplace, in your families. But I want to really communicate this right now, that you are not alone. Perfectionism is a dysfunctional belief that has also been born out of the fact that we have been operating largely in what I have termed the progress era, which means for the last 100 years or so, as a species, humans have been very focused on how to improve the quality of our life experience and how to solve major problems that affect humanity, medical problems, environmental problems, problems that do need to be solved, of course. And of course, it's always a good thing to improve the quality of our life, not only for humans, but for animals, for the whole world. However, we've kind of gone into a hysteria with this, which means we've taken this progress mindset to the extreme where we can hardly breathe before we're looking for the next thing to fix, solve and improve. And you can see that being played out in technology. You hardly have time to buy the latest upgraded whatever before the next one's on the market. And truth be told, humans, we are an expression of nature, which means we operate in the same kind of cycle system as nature. And nature operates on, quite lengthy time frames in order to have something new grow into something matured, and that matured state dies out for something new to come. And you can see that with beautiful old trees, at least that are all around Sydney. It takes hundreds of years for that seed, that initial idea or that initial seedling to grow into this big, beautiful, wise, mature tree. As it is with humans, we go from being babies to being elderly. That is a journey of expansion, of maturity, of evolving our wisdom. It takes a whole lifetime. Yet what we seem to be doing is going out, making a change or transforming ourselves or improving ourselves or investing in ourselves, not even giving it a month or a couple of months or a year to land before we're on to the next one. And what that's doing is driving that evolutionary, expansionary aspect of ourselves way too hard. And we're actually not learning or letting those learnings land and growing more mature and wiser. We're almost staying adolescent and just getting stuck in this perfectionist overdrive of got to keep working on myself, got to keep working on myself. And so the progress mindset really has given birth to this very aggressive perfectionist mindset. Now, what is the perfectionist mindset all about? It's really important to know this in order to be able to transcend it. And I'm only going to spend a few minutes on it because it's already been a long lesson, and I will pick up on this later. At its core, perfectionism is a safety strategy that children learn in childhood to prevent them from being the victim of criticism, of shaming, of intimidation, of abuse. So basically, when you're a child and you can't meet the expectations of the adults or the people or the life around you, what has happened is because you haven't met that expectation, that adult or the environment has somehow condemned you for that, usually through some type of criticism, a more severe shaming, or at its worst, abuse. And what your little child has learned is I need to do better. I need to be perfect. If I'm perfect and I can meet all the expectations of all the people that I love around me, or that I need to be loved by, I will be okay, I'll be safe, I'll win the approval, the affection, the validation of these adults, because I need that to survive. And as a child, it's a great strategy. you try and live up to your parents' expectations, because that's often where it gets bred, or the school or the society. And if you do, you tend to get, positive feedback. You get hugs, love, all those things that you need as a child to survive in the world and to thrive. The problem is it's not your job as a child to live up to the unrealistic expectations of the adults around you, and it creates a very dysfunctional enmeshment relationship between yourself and adults in the world. And usually you grow into adulthood continuing on with this strategy of, if I can just please all the people around me, I will avoid the very painful experience of being shamed. So of course, as a child, you definitely want to avoid these types of experiences, but as an adult, you have become more grounded, more equipped, and hopefully developed your soul esteem to a level where you can realize that it's not your job to meet the expectations of other people. And if they're unhappy or they feel that you haven't done enough for them, that is actually their problem to resolve. So you're able to kind of separate who you are from the expectations of other people. And in doing that, the perfectionist will start to become quite defueled. It won't have the fuel to continue driving your life. And what a beautiful place you'll find yourself in when you can start making choices that really are joy choices, choices that bring you joy, rather than choices that are attempting to win some kind of validation or to stay safe. Now, the last thing I'll say about this is, in order to develop your creative potential as a human being, the worst thing you can do is continually stay safe. Now, at times being safe is a priority, but most of the time you need to be able to step out into the unknown to develop your potential, to take on new risks, to grow your soul, to grow your maturity. So you actually need to be out in the world in a quite vulnerable state and choose to step away from safety. And as perfectionists, the perfectionist is trying to keep you in a safe space. You can see that there is a soul struggle going on here between the part of you that wants to evolve and expand and the perfectionist that wants to keep you safe. So we really want to take the energy out of this conflict. You don't want to fight the perfectionist. You just simply want to acknowledge that the job that she did is done. You're now an adult and you're ready to let her go. And simply looking at your behaviors and noticing which of those is the perfectionist and just stepping away from them rather than judging them or criticizing will do a lot to help you release this dysfunctional belief system and, to really prevent it driving the choices that you're making on a daily basis. Now, this was a huge topic. The lesson went for quite long, and it's something that I'll keep coming back to over 2020, because the perfectionist is definitely a demon we want to be getting rid of in 2020. We want to be reducing the influence that it has in our lives, in my life, your life, and the collective. So beginning now is always a good thing. Even if you don't really know what you're doing, just starting with becoming aware of, breathing, making space for it, and letting go will really create a beautiful positive shift in your life. Now, if you like this lesson, there's plenty more from last year at higherlifetv. Or if you'd like to do a little bit of training with us or dive deeper into this work, just visit www.higherlifeacademy.com, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take care and love life.